Hi there, welcome to That Board Game Show. My name is James Wood, and today I'm going to show you an unboxing of Underwater Cities, a game of aquatic construction for 1 to 4 players, designed by Vladimir Suchy and published by Delicious Games. So without further ado, let's dive in. And you'll see on the shelf behind me over there that I have got the expansion Underwater Cities New Discoveries included here. So this is actually an unboxing of both of them put together, and you'll see how everything fits in the base box. And you'll see a little bonus that's coming up soon. So we pop that off to the side. Let's put that over there so you can enjoy the box while we do this. We have the ubiquitous rulebook, which is one of my favorite parts of any game, and this game specifically because this rulebook is brilliantly written. This rulebook is an example of how rulebooks should be written. It's got examples, it pulls the theme through, it's laid out in a logical way. Just hats off to, what was the name of the rulebook author? I looked it up last night. You'd think I would know this. Rules by Jason Holt. Thank you, Jason Holt, for this wonderful rulebook, making a potentially rather complicated game very easy to pick up and learn. And I will be doing a overview explainer video on how this game plays. So if you still want to bypass the rulebook and just dive into gameplay, you can do that. But I would highly recommend, with this game, give this rulebook a read, even if it's just a cursory glance. So with that gushing for the rulebook out the way, we've got our list of components, game overview, setup, see, example of how rulebooks should be done. Nice big 2-page spread on a picture of setup with numbers for everything. Lovely, thank you very much. Special setup rules for 2 to 3 players, right here, not buried at the back of the book somewhere. And then we've got player setup. We have gameplay overview. And then we get into all the details of different symbols, how they work, etc., etc., etc. Blah, blah, blah. More stuff, more rules. And I'm not going to go through all of these right now. And let's see, we've got that, we've got that. We've got some variants at the back here. Some government contracts, other side of the player boards, the solo game, and then some additional notes on various specific card effects. And then a handy little reference at the back for various symbols and icons. That is rulebook number 1. Then we have rulebook number 2, which is the New Discoveries rulebook. I haven't played the New Discoveries expansion all that much, so I can't really speak to all the details of it. Again, an excellent rulebook, written just as well as this one. And obviously a lot shorter. We've got our components, setting up the expansion. And this expansion is actually quite interesting that it's a couple different modules. You've got quick start rules. These just help you dive in and get the game ticking over a little bit quicker. You've got the Metropolis Race, Metropolis Choice, and then the Museum expansion. I haven't played the Museum expansion yet. I'm very keen to give it a go. And that's it. So you've got those various modules and you can mix and match them. You can play with just one or a couple together or however you really want. So you can play with all of them mashed together. I have not tried that yet. And then here are specifics on how the solo game is affected. And I point that out because the video I will be doing after this is talking all about how that solo play works. Now we get to the meat of the box. And you'll see the first thing we have is a massive stack of player boards. Huge stack of lovely dual layer player boards, and they're all double-sided, so massive amount of variability and different ways to play. And These, you'll see, are the player boards that came in the base game. So there's 4 of them. They are also double-sided. So right out the base game, you still got quite a large amount of variability. They then doubled that and added the dual layer player boards here. I hope you can sort of see that if I get the shadow to hit it on the camera. So you've got these little cutouts. So as you're playing the game, your pieces sort of lock in place. And if you bump the table or bump your board, they don't all splay around and you have to remember, oh no, where'd everything go? Okay, so that is a very nice touch of the expansion. I'll be honest, that's one of the primary reasons I got the expansion was for these boards. If you're anything like me and you enjoy organizational little touches like that, this is a fantastic expansion. Then we've got player aids. I've just kept them with their little paper wrapper just to keep them from flailing all over the box. So there's your player aid, 1 per player, so that you can keep tabs on the various rounds of the game and what all the symbols do. So we'll pop those over there. Then we've got the museum board, which I have yet to explore, and I realized it was upside down. Also double-sided, so even more variability there. What else do we have? We have the board. Imagine that, a board game with a board. Okay, so we have the board, and we have the board for 3 or 4 players. And we have the board for 1 or 2 players. So there you have it, nice map of the world, although this is the far-flung future and humanity is struggling, shall we say. And we are, as the players, representing different powers at the different companies, different organizations, different governments that have taken to under the seas, and we are building cities and establishing colonies under the ocean to then be more self-sufficient in that space. So that's kind of the whole premise of the game. So then, this here is rather unique. This is not how the game comes off the shelf. This is a 3D printed insert which I've printed up, and I'll leave the link to this insert on Thingiverse or Printables, I forget which. One of those websites is where I downloaded the files for this insert. So thank you to the creator of this insert, because I do not have the CAD skills to design my own just yet. I'm still a fledgling newbie when it comes to 3D printing. And I've just got a very basic sort of entry-level 3D printer, and it was quite sufficient to pull this off. We've got this tray over here, which holds all the city domes. So these are what you're going to be building as you play the game. You're going to all start with 1 city on your player board. And as you play, you can build more. And you see, that's what the dual layer player board is nice for. These red domes over here are what's called symbiotic cities, which are more symbiotic with the nature around them, so they require less resources during the game. Basically, during the game, you have these various production phases, and each production phase, you have to provide resources for your cities. But symbiotic cities just symbiotically operate with the nature around them, and they do not require your resources. And the reason they're divided up like this is because you play with a set number of symbiotic cities depending on the number of players. So I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, this trough here is the number of symbiotic cities you get in a 2-player game, and then these are for 3 or 4-player games, respectively. This little green dome here is part of a promo you would have seen on the box. Promo included. That promo is a promo card which you'll see when I get to it, that gives one player a bonus city that they can, I think you convert one of your cities. We'll get to the card just now and see what it does. Okay, so moving on, we've got a card tray with our cards from our different eras. We've got era 2 and era 3. I have the expansion cards all shuffled in here, so these decks have expanded somewhat. And all the expansion cards have this little symbol in the corner, so if you want to weed them out for a simpler game, you can do so. And these are the cards you're going to be playing as the game progresses. Basically, it's kind of a worker placement engine building game. So these markers are your worker spots. Each player has 3 of them. And you're going to be placing these on the board, on these various worker placement spaces. And when you place one of those, you also play a card from your hand. And depending on the color, it will determine what bonuses you get. So all of that will become apparent in the playthrough video. This is just showing you all the lovely components and the lovely art. I mean, just look at this. Isn't that stunning? So those are your Era 2 cards. I do believe there's a bit of repetition with some of the art, like you might have seen that one already. So they do use the same art pieces for some of the cards, like that one's shown up already. But overall, there is a lot of original art in here, and I think it's all rather lovely. And next we have another card tray with some more cards and some more tokens. So these are the player tokens. You've got your orange, your purple, your blue, and your black. And again, actually that's quite a nice touch that I only just thought of now is, I believe these are more colorblind friendly colors than your traditional red, green, blue, etc. I could be wrong. I'm not colorblind, so I can't say for sure. We've also got our Era 1 cards, which are more of the same. Basically, the different Era cards get slightly more advanced as you play, but functionally, they're all doing very similar things. This is that promo I was talking about that ties to the little green dome. So that is your promo 01. So this means, let's see, if you are the first player to have 3 cities connected to your network, replace your starting city with the green biodome. This is a non-symbiotic city that requires no kelp at the end of production. So that's that little promo that was included in the box. Then we have our assistants, and these are the assistants that come in the base game. Let's get all of them. There we go. So we've got blue, orange, black, purple, and they are all functionally the same. You've got your little end of game scoring reference card, and they all have the same ability. These are actions that you can take during the game. So the only difference here is color. And what else do we have? We have these cards. This is one of those variants. These are the government contracts, which I believe you do not play with in a solo game. These are basically for more advanced Underwater Cities players, which I am not. So I have not experienced how these work exactly. I think I've tried playing with them once or twice, but they basically give you specific goals to work towards and then you get bonuses. Then we have these assistants. These are more assistant cards like the ones we saw earlier over here. So base game, you got these ones, all the same. Expansion included new assistants, so you get a larger amount of variety in the way you play. So each player will get their own unique assistant, and you'll see they each have a unique ability. Some of them have ongoing abilities that transpire throughout the game. Some of them have one-time benefits, and some of them have things that trigger at specific points in the game. So those are your new assistant cards from the expansion. We have some special cards, hence the S. And you might notice, I don't know if it's showing up on the camera, that the card backs are a slightly different color. So there's a card from the expansion, I believe. Am I correct? Yes, I am. Okay, so there's a card from the expansion, there's a card from the base game. I don't know how well that's showing up on camera, and I don't know if that's unique to my copy of the game, but that's something to be aware of. If you sleeve your cards and you get colored sleeves, well, that problem goes away. I had sleeved my cards originally, but the sleeves I have did not fit with this 3D printed insert. So that was a bit unfortunate. If I had different sleeves, they would. It so happens that the sleeves I had were just slightly bigger around than the cards, so they didn't quite fit. So that's also something just to be mindful of if you're thinking about printing off this insert yourself. And so yeah, those are some special cards. They have a cost to play. And then here we have some even more special cards, and they have an even greater cost to play, and they are basically all, yeah, these are all end game scoring. That's what the little clock in the corner there means. So these are all for end game scoring. Then we have, what else do we have here? We've got this little bundle of goodies. Now these tiles over here. This is your round tracker, so that goes on the side of the board and tracks the rounds as you play. These tiles are from the expansion, and they're part of that quick start variant. So at the beginning of the game, you'll deal out a number of these equal to the number of players plus 1, and then each player will pick one of these as their starting resources, their starting setup, basically. All kinds of bonuses there. So that really helps the game get started a lot quicker. This little token here is for, I believe, 4 players. Yeah, it's got a little 4-player symbol. That goes on the board over there, and it modifies this space. So this is an action space that you can go to. If you're 1 through 3 players, that's the action you get. If you're playing with 4 players, it just modifies it a bit. And that slots in there, and I absolutely love how this insert has been engineered and figured out. Really well done. And then we've got, these are your little like gold tiles. These are going to go in the corners of your player board. So you're going to slide those in, and a certain number of these came with the expansion. So the base game had these. And did the expansion come with any? I can't remember now. Let's consult the rulebook, shall we? What does the rulebook say? New components. Yes, okay, so we got new green metropolis tiles. Okay, so we didn't have the green metropolis tiles before. So basically, if you look at your map here, you'll see you've got these various little pieces of land. So these are cities, these are metropolises on the mainland that we can connect our underwater city network to for various in-game bonuses, points, scoring opportunities, etc. So the expansion introduced all the green ones, the blue and brown ones. You'll see here's a brown one that came in the base game. And those are going to go on your player board and dictate the various bonuses you can get. Then we have these resources. These represent your kelp farms, laboratories, desalination plants, and tunnels. So as you're playing the game, you're going to be building these up, and these are going to be going onto your cities, and the number of different types of buildings you have will determine the number of points your city will score, and also the level of the building that's upgraded. So you can upgrade a building by putting 2 little tokens on it. That's what your board is going to start looking like as you play. So you'll see here these double layer buildings are upgraded buildings, which basically just produce differently. And you upgrade your tunnels by just flipping them over, like so. And those all go in this lovely little tray. And then almost done here, we've got all of our resources also in a well-organized little tray. Thank you again, designer of this insert. You make my organizational heart very happy. We have biomatter as like a universal wild resource. We have science. We have steel plast, which is like a malleable, papery type steel design. Remember, set in the far-flung future. And actually, I don't know if steel plast is a real thing. Huh. Engineers in the audience, let me know down below. We also have kelp, because kelp is apparently going to be one of the foods of the future. And then each of these little tokens represents one of those resources. And then in these front troughs over here, we have the 3 times. So basically, if you're playing a multiplayer game and you start running out of resources, you can trade in 3 single tokens for one of these to represent your extra resources. Or near the end of the game, when you're really raking in the resources, you can just take a 3 token instead of fishing out 3 individuals. We then have credits over here. These are all singles. We have a little stack of 5 credits, and we have a little stack of 10 credits. And there you have it. Lastly, we have these little troughs off to the side here, which hold the player pieces. So these are your little player tokens that you use for tracking your points and where you are on the turn order track and things like that. These little tokens here are from the museum expansion. You might be able to see that little museum symbol there that matches the various symbols on the board here. I have no experience with that yet, so I can't really speak to what that does or how it works. But that's what those are for. And those all store nice and neat in, whoopsie, losing one. A little trough over here. And unfortunately, one minor quibble with this expansion is that these little troughs, which fit perfectly down the side here and hold everything very nicely, do not accommodate these player pieces. So you can't quite fit all the player pieces of each color into one. You can store them like that, but then it's a bit tricky getting the boards and things in. I do believe if you follow the link in the description to the Thingiverse or printables or the 3D printed files for this, that these troughs are actually designed and intended for somebody who is using the 3D printed little submarine pieces that you can use. So somebody out there has designed little mini submarines that you can use to replace these cardboard tokens for your worker placement during the game. And then those will fit perfectly in these troughs. We will now rebox everything. So that goes over there. We put our little buildings over there. And where are our metropolises? Let's rebox the game. Put our metropolises back in their places. Put our quick start tiles back over here. So there you have Underwater Cities plus its expansion, plus my little custom 3D printed add-on. And while I box everything up, to do a reboxing now, to wrap out the video, I will say thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little short show. Remember to stay tuned for the full explainer video how to play gameplay. I'll figure out exactly what it is when I make it. And I hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed doing it. I absolutely love this game, and I absolutely love clever little organizational things like this because, yeah, organization just makes me happy. And I say that while putting things back wrong, but that's because I'm chatting to you. Haha. Okay, so let's pop that over there. Let's pop that over there. And you can see how everything, ooh, that's a bit snug. There we go. Everything slots in absolutely beautifully. And a little place for everything and everything in its place. And then how this is designed to work is that the player board, you'll see these stick up a little bit here. So the player board slots in like so, which then creates a nice flat area, and then all these player boards go on top, and there, and rule books, and box lid, and there you have Underwater Cities plus new discoveries, all boxed up and ready to go. And bonus point, for those of you who like to store your games vertical, the way this insert is designed, everything now stays in place and doesn't shift around and fall out of its little compartments, because as you saw, that main board just slots right on top, nice and snug. And if you like this playmat that I've been unboxing everything on, you can pick up one at emperorsworkshop.coza. I'll leave the link down below. They are a South African-based company, bonus for me because I'm based in South Africa as well. And they print custom designs like this. They've also got a range of other designs. And bonus, they will ship internationally. So don't worry about where you are located. They can get these playmats to you. And they're really, really good quality. And these big ones are relatively thin, but it actually works really well because they have a nice amount of sponge and they also cover the table and sort of, they work as almost like a big tablecloth because they got just a little bit of malleability. They're not super stiff. So thank you to Emperor's Workshop for making and providing this wonderful playmat. And with that, I shall say thank you ever so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the show.